Alrighty then, sluts. So, the other day, I guess the other week, let's be honest, a couple weeks ago, I was going to a buddy's house and I knew I had to stop and pick some things up on the way. Unfortunately, there really aren't many places to stop on the way, so I figured I'd bite the bullet and stop at a little specialty store along the way. And it wasn't a tiny little specialty store, it was it was like a specialty grocery store where it has a bunch of fancy cheeses, a bunch of fancy wines, like lots of exotic meats and weird nuts and shit. I don't really know what they have there. I don't go there very often. I've only been there a few times. But I figured I'm going to pull in there. I need to pick up some beer anyway, and then I'm going to get a specialty soda because they have a huge rack of specialty sodas there. Like really, really cool, like not exotic, but just homemade like kinds of soda, like cream soda, root beer, orange, cherry, all the good kinds of soda that you can't really get at vending machines or other convenience stores or gas stations. So I'm like, I'm going to treat myself to a soda. So I walk through. I am convinced I'm going to buy some really expensive, nice beer because I'm like, you know what? I want to feel classy because I'm looking at all of these other, rich foppish white people walking around in this store like just way too much money, don't know what to do with themselves, just buying $10 bricks of cheese just because they feel like it. Maybe that's not even expensive. I'm no expert on the brick cheese market. Maybe someone else could throw me a bone of knowledge on that one. I could, really, really start to expand my horizons into the cheese spectrum. So, I'm going to this store. I get in there. I'm sure I'm going to buy that beer, but I end up getting like Natural Light or something because I figured, screw it, it's all the same, and I'm not going to pay $10 for 6 beers. That's ridiculous. So walk over to the soda aisle after, of course, meandering around and looking at all the meats and cheeses and stuff. And let me tell you this: if there's one thing that I've learned this summer, it is there are more kinds of cheese than I thought possible. I was pretty much relegated to the idea that American, Swiss, cheddar, pepper jack, like that was like the full extent of my cheese knowledge. But after like walking in that building, I'm not gonna say the name of the company just in case I don't want to do some bad PR for them. So I didn't know. You go out there and research some cheese. It's fascinating. You're really gonna thank me for that. Also, lots of different kinds of wines. But every time I walk in a wine aisle, I don't know what I'm doing, and so I just kind of look at it and I'm like, oh, that's certainly a nice looking bottle with red liquid in it. And it's $50. I'll put it down and get the other cheaper box with the liquid in it for $10. So walking through, looking at everything, kind of just goofing around, killing some time. I go over by the meat section, and it was weird. Honestly, I felt like they were serving illegal meats. Like it seemed like you could just ask for anything and they would bring it up to you. Like they had stuff in there that I asked the guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is a delicacy in Mongolia or some ridiculous thing, like some weird kind of like I don't know, alligator scrotum." That obviously wasn't it. I have no idea though. But the reason, yeah, I have a theory with this whole delicacy bullshit because every time you watch the Discovery Channel, they're always like, "Oh yeah, this rabbit asshole is really fried up and savored in the Chikuku people of the, mid-African tribe, or, somewhere in New Guinea or somewhere crazy where they haven't like experienced any technology or anything." And I don't think that's a delicacy for them. I think, here's my theory, is that rabbit butthole that they're frying up, that seems like a really delicious thing because the only other food they have to compare it to is like ants and bugs and goat poop. Like, I don't know what they eat. I'm no dietitian. But, like, if you compare a rabbit's butthole to a beetle, it's probably going to taste pretty good. But if you gave them like a double quarter pounder or even like a nasty like Burger King sandwich or something, they would be like, holy shit, this is delicious. And that would be their new delicacy. These people just have nasty delicacies because they haven't experienced good food ever. You take them to a California pizza kitchen, they're going to be changing their tune right quick about what a delicacy is and what their culture has to offer in the spectrum of food preparation and being a chef and what have you. So, anyway, I went to the meat section, looked at a bunch of stuff, then came back and went to the soda section because I had everything I need, and I just wanted to pick out a really cool soda that I could enjoy and sip on, and just, I was excited about it. It's just one of those little things in life that you get disproportionately excited for, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to get this soda. So I walk over there, and I probably spend 3 or 4 minutes, which doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're just standing there looking at soda, that's a long time, dude. So I'm just sitting there looking at all this huge wall of soda, and I'm kind of picking around, reading different labels: root beer, cream soda, orange soda. And finally I decide, you know what, I'm a huge fan of cream soda. I'm going to get some really awesome cream soda. So I'm looking around. I sift through 3 of them. And then finally I pick one that I think looks really good, right? So I go to lift the first bottle out of the 6-pack, okay? And the way that these bottles were kind of sorted, it not sorted, but sitting, is that they weren't 100% flat. They were leaning towards me a little bit. And I swear by the old gods and the new that there was some sort of witchcraft or devilry or wizardry or something that suspended the laws of physics momentarily as I reached for the soda. I promise you, just take my word for it. So I reach for the soda and I try and pull it out just regularly, like you'd pull a soda out of a six-pack, cardboard container. Simple. I reach in the bottle, or reach in the soda thing, grab the bottle, pull it out, and then immediately the whole thing just flips forward, and then all other 5 of the bottles just come crashing to the ground. I'm holding this one in my hand. I think 3 or 4 of the bottles just shattered, and there was just glass everywhere, and just one of them just kind of cracked, so even worse than if all of them cracked. There was like a ton of shit everywhere, and then one of them just still going like doing all that bullshit, and I was like, oh god damn it, now I'm gonna get in trouble. And I immediately, that's my first mindset. I don't know why. Like I'm an adult, I'm an adult by any means, and when something like that happens, my first gut reaction is still like, oh shit, gonna get in trouble. And my first visceral reaction was, Taylor, you got to get out of here, man. You got to sprint to the exit. You can make it for sure. You can definitely make it. And but then of course I was like, no, I'm not gonna sprint to the exit. I broke some sodas. I'll just talk to whoever comes over here, tell him sorry, and then move on. So immediately, this guy who must have heard it from another aisle comes around and says, "Did you break that soda?" And it was clearly a guy who cleaned stuff up because he had a mop and a bucket and all that. And he I don't know why he had it with him. It doesn't seem normal that he would carry that around unless maybe he had just cleaned up a mess in the aisle adjacent to me, which would explain why he was so cranky. So that could be the case. So he comes around with all that stuff and he's like, "Did you break those bottles?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, man, I'm really sorry. That was an accident." And he didn't say a word. This guy just turns around, walks away for like 30 seconds, and then comes back and then just staring at the ground, just starts sweeping up all the mess. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I didn't know what to do. I'm still standing there. It's like a minute has passed since the event, and I'm just holding this one soda in my hand. I'm like, should I just drop this one too? Just 100%, 6 for 6 on this? I don't know. And so then I stand there for a little bit longer, probably 30 seconds, the longest 30 seconds ever. The longest 30 seconds of watching this guy clean up my mess that I completely did and was 100% my fault. And it's almost like me standing there like I'm like some sort of regal, His Highness kind of person, just looking like down my nose like, "Oh yes, clean my mess, peasant." And it must have been so just subjugating and feel terrible for him. But I don't know, I was too, out of it to even think about that at the time. So I was sitting there waiting for, I was like, what's next procedure here? When's the manager going to come out? And then a manager comes around, or who I assume was the manager, and he goes, "So you broke those bottles, huh?" In like a real, just sneery, rude way to do it. And I was like, "Yeah, I apologize. I'll pay for them. I'm sorry." And he goes, you really? You broke them? Are you sure you broke them?" Because I don't know why he wouldn't just believe me that I broke them, but here's my hunch, is I suspect that this guy who was cleaning up all my shit had a history of messing stuff up and just causing a ruckus for no reason. Maybe he was like the nephew of the manager or some shit and got a job there through some politics. I don't know. But that guy who was cleaning up was not in a happy mood, and the way he was acting, I can easily see him walking around just fucking shit up for no reason sometimes. And so he is asking me, like, "Are you sure you broke those bottles?" Like, trying to get me to, like, confess to not doing what I already asked. And by this point, I'm like, what Jedi mind tricks are you trying to get, man? Just make me pay for the goddamn sodas and I'll be on my way. And so eventually he just lets me go up there. On the way up there, he was trying to be nice, and he was like, "Oh, well, how about you don't have to pay for, you pay for half the sodas you broke, and then here's another one you can have, like, for free." And it was like a less, expensive, like a soda in a plastic bottle, like a Diet Coke or something like that. So I'm like, okay, that's a good deal. But then, of course, I get pointed to the front register, and the manager walks away, and then when I try and explain that whole situation to the lady who's working at the register, she's just like, "Oh, no, can't do that," and she just runs me through for the full price of all the sodas that I broke, which I guess is fair. And so I ended up paying way more than I thought, and then I'm sitting there in my car afterwards sipping on this like Diet Coke, and I'm like, I just paid like $12 for this soda, and I was pretty pissed off about that. But anyway, I don't really know if this story had a moral or anything even vaguely reminiscent of a moral when you think about it, other than, if you do have a customer break something, it's best not to, like, do a good cop, crazy janitor cop routine on him. Just let him leave and pay for the bottles. I mean, see, Jesus, like, it was just too much to put me through. And I'm the customer, and I'm always right, goddammit. So that's the end. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a rating. If you didn't, go jump into traffic. Love you.